that leads us to this next story. Nintendo stockpiling Switch 2s in the US, even though it could still be selling them at a loss with the current tariffs. So, this is from Ethan Gotch at Kotaku. The Switch 2 is shaping up to be one of the messiest console launches ever in the United States, at least from Nintendo's point of view. The company's new $450 console is set to come out on June 5th, but it's also being forced to navigate a chaotic circus around tariffs that could torpedo the rollout at any moment. Bloomberg now reports that the Mario Maker has been diverting Switch 2 shipments to stockpile them in the US before tariffs potentially skyrocket again. But even in the current environment, some analysts believe Nintendo would be selling the console at a potential loss. That seems unavoidable at this point. Vietnam, where the majority of Switch 2s are manufactured, was set to be hit with a 46% tariff earlier this week, but President Trump backed off at the last minute as the stock and bond markets went into free fall. And you know what? They still aren't looking very good. I mean, the stock market bounced back, but the bond market's still looking very scary. Those reciprocal tariffs, including 49% on Cambodia and 24% on Japan, were paused for 90 days and replaced in the meantime with a flat 10% tax, blah, blah, blah. It now appears that Nintendo has been moving extra Switch 2 shipments to the US in recent months to try and get ahead of the current upcoming tariffs. There's a analyst that Bloomberg talked to that says it seems like now what Nintendo's doing is taking every Switch made in Vietnam and sending them to the United States. If they're made in China, Cambodia, those are going to the rest of the world. But everyone made in Vietnam is going to the United States because in this moment, today, for now, that's a 10% tariff. And they're like, he's got a 90-day pause on it. That, of course, we know that could go away. He could get annoyed in the next couple days and say, screw the 90-day pause. They understand that, but they're going to just hope, against hope that stays, try to get as many Switch 2s from Vietnam into the United States in that 90-day period. And then if something changes, they will have to adapt at that point. But in the meantime, this is the strategy. And, they don't want to be spending their energy on this, but they kind of have to in this moment. The United States is a market you can't ignore for video games, especially if you are a console manufacturer. That's like, the console market kind of lives and dies by the United States market. Obviously,
or console specifically, we're by far the biggest, right?
Yes. And, there are obviously other very important markets, but you kind of can't make this work unless you have the United States. And, the Japanese Nintendo leadership absolutely understands that. That's
now when you're planning to do international launches and everything, worldwide launches.
So they're trying to figure it out, and I'm not getting my hopes up that this means that nothing's going to change in terms of the price, other than all the things we just talked about how it's going to be difficult for them from a public relations standpoint. But I think they're just going to have to accept any losses on this console for now, and if those 46%, 49% tariffs return, then I'm expecting a price increase at that point. But what other choice do they have, Sean?
Not much, really, because like we said at the top of the show, you can only lose so much before in the console space it no longer makes sense. People do like to bring up that the other console manufacturers do sell the consoles at a loss. Eventually, maybe they break even or make a little bit of money on them as manufacturing costs go down. But you start by selling the console at a little bit of a loss, or maybe a big loss. Not console per se, but that's what Gabe seemed to be implying with the Steam Deck, the entry level one. And then you get people in your ecosystem, get them buying games, and you make a profit on those things. But if you're taking a huge loss on the console, the problem is attach rate. And in this first year of the Switch 2, what will the attach rate be? Especially when games are as high as $80 for brand new Switch 2 games or Switch 2 versions of games.
We don't matter Nintendo, that, right? Like I'll probably buy 3 games, 4 games. I might get nuts by more than that. We know that we are the exception, and that the attach rate is determined by families, more casual players. And they're going to get maybe one $80 game. Maybe. That's
exactly what tends to happen with these games. Like, you see Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold. It's some astronomical number at this point. Isn't it like 50 million or something?
I think it's like approaching 60 million. I actually lost track. So, it's a ton.
And maybe they're counting bundles. I actually forget how Nintendo does that. Yeah. Okay. But either way, that's a lot of copies of that game. But then you start to see the sales numbers drop off as you go down the list of best sold games. And that's what happens, is because everyone gets Mario Kart, but then they don't really need anything else. That's their game. And then they buy another one, like a few months down the road if something catches their eye. They're not like us picking up basically every first-party Nintendo game. So you can't rely on that. They can't rely on that. They can't build that into the strategy right now. So I guess this is a weird point that we're at where maybe Nintendo does just have to suck it up, right?
Yep. It's Wizard of Blah in chat says, I just imagine cargo ships having to keep making U-turns in the sea depending on the tariffs. Lol. And it's like, you're not that far off. It's like so
not
weird. It's so weird to like, because of this job, like start paying attention to like how shipping ports work. But apparently what's happened is there are massive ships with cargo on them, you know, these massive cargo containers, and there's hundreds of those, and they each have like 40,000 tons of goods in there that are sitting in ports just waiting like for the green light to unload. And that's causing backups, that's causing other issues. So it's like even Nintendo trying to get as many Switch 2s here as possible are going to encounter just logistical problems. And you know, there's also apparently like different fees that are also going up simultaneously, unrelated to all this stuff. For when you bring ships to the United States and you go to a port, you have to pay fees, and apparently those fees were going up. So what they've started doing is like, instead of like hitting Seattle, Oakland, and then LA, they're just all going to LA. And so that's also causing a backup at the LA port, which is the biggest port in the United States, other than maybe at least on the West Coast. And so that's also causing logistical issues. So there's other reasons why we might not have enough Switch 2s, why they might have costs associated with that. It is a complete mess across the board.
Yeah.
And then, you know, of course, you know, the tariffs are directly related to those companies just keeping those cargo ships there unloaded. So yeah, I you know, Nintendo's might have to just grin and bear it here for a little bit. They might have to just say, okay, I guess this is, you know, we'll grimace and try to pretend to smile and talk about how all this stuff is worth it because Mario Kart 8 or Mario Kart World is so special and has so much stuff. So of course it's worth this price. And that's how they talk to us. So it's not going to be satisfying when they actually come back with the their answer for what is happening with pre-orders, the price, anything else. But whatever. I'm still that sucker, Sean. I'm still that sucker who needs the Switch 2 so bad that I'm willing to do it. But I don't blame anyone who is feeling like I need to just sit this out because either I don't care enough about the games, that price is too high, all this news is depressing, even that's you know, not Nintendo's fault. I could get why you're like, I don't want to deal with this, and then the Switch 2 makes me think about it, so I just want to sit it out.
Yeah, I try to think of it the perspective of, you know, like 2 years ago before I had this job, what would I have done in this situation? Oh, you know, when I was buying every game, buying every console, you know, I had to be responsible for all that. And the thing that I would give up is everything else, because that's where I am. I want to play Mario Kart World. I want to play Metroid Prime 4 in the best quality that I can. I want to play Bonanza. I'll give up everything else to play the one thing that I want. And I think maybe that's just what people have to do at this point, as much as that absolutely sucks, because we're still in Nintendo jail enough that I'm still buying all this myself, by the way. Like, that's still going to happen. Yep. I'm just lucky enough to get the other stuff for free.
Yeah, I'm like even like debating, like, should I even ask for a Switch 2? I mean, I will, but I have not yet. It's just
doesn't hurt to ask.
It doesn't hurt to ask. I'm not expecting
I'm going to be doing what everyone else is. You know, I'm going to sell my Switch 1. I'm maybe some games that I'm not playing. I'm going to do what makes sense for me so I can get that hardware and play the thing that I want to play, because the world is crumbling around us, and I just need a little more escapism, you know?
I'm gonna Klarna that shit. Give me 4 payments. I don't care. What's the interest rate? Don't tell me.
Oh yeah, I'm putting that in the PayPal, you know.
Yeah, PayPal. Pay in 4. Let's go.
Well, I ain't doing the pay in 4. I'll take the 8% APR or whatever, man. That's what I gotta do at this point. Jesus Christ.